Most recent installment of the Jurassic franchise, Jurassic World Rebirth, we were introduced to the mutants of Alcide Herbert, the Mutadons, and the Distort Rex. They have begun to interest me in speculating how they could function scientifically, or if they should have died in the incubator. Hi, my name is Connor, and can the mutants of Jurassic World Rebirth actually exist? To see if these mutants are even possible, we will look at their deformities and genetic mutations and how they affect the animal. Paleoaccuracy and regular science will be taken into account at the end of each of their analyses. We will give them a grade of survival, A being highest and F being lowest. Also, we will be looking at for other genetic contributors in these mutants that cause some of these mutations. So let's first look at the Mutadon. Mutadons compared to a Utahraptor has many differences, mainly due to the Jurassic World design process, which includes no feathering along the body, exposed teeth with no lips, and pronation of the wrists. The lack of feathering doesn't allow the Mutadon to thermoregulate as efficiently as a regular dromaeosaur would. The feathers act as great insulators to trap cold air and insulate heat. Now this wouldn't be a big problem for the Mutadons, as they could use gigantothermy, which means they use their own body heat due to their massive size, and since they live on a warm tropical island, the Mutadons could use external heat sources. However, their exposed teeth would be a problem, as if they don't keep them moisturized constantly, their teeth will corrode away, not allowing them to properly rip through flesh, meaning that the Mutadons would have to live on more humid sides of the island. The Mutadons' wrist pronation, meaning their palms are facing to the ground, is not viable for dinosaurs, as it causes broken wrists. This is because dinosaurs have supination, meaning their palms don't face the ground. However, this is where our first potential genetic DNA contributor reveals themselves. The Pteranodon is obviously an obvious DNA contributor due to the wings. This may explain the pronation of the wrists, as Pteranodon had pronated wrists. But this does bring up another point for the Mutadon. Could it fly? The Mutadon is about 16 feet in length and weighs 250 kilograms, which is one male lion. In universe, they have a wingspan of 30 feet. However, to get a rough estimate for the realistic wingspan, we times the body length by 3, which gives us a wingspan of 48 feet, which is far larger than the Quetzalcoatlus' wingspan, being 36 feet. This means that the Mutadon would be terrible at powered flight, as their wings are far too small for liftoff, but it only gets worse. The method of liftoff is similar to modern day birds. However, this would limit their size, as the leading reason why pterosaurs could get so big while being flyers is because they use their whole body while in takeoff, while birds, they use the front of their body, putting more stress and limiting their size. The largest bird in the fossil record is Argentavis, which was only 6 feet in length and had a wingspan of 22 feet. All this evidence points to the fact that the Mutadons wouldn't be a great flyer, and this isn't even taking into account if the Mutadon have the genes from the Pteranodon to allow flight, like flight muscles, a keel, which is basically a bone that acts as an attachment site for flight muscles, the reinforced hollow bones, and a respiratory system to allow powered flight. Now let's say they do. It still wouldn't allow it to fly, as the wings are too small and it doesn't even have the proper method to lift its massive body. This also leaves it with the disadvantage of a fast metabolism of a flyer. Now let's end this analysis with a little bit something more kind to the Mutadon, and that is the possibility of the beak. Now obviously this would come from the Pteranodon. However, the shape is much more smaller than the Pteranodon. This could be an advanced egg tooth. Egg tooth are either a real tooth or a carbuncle of bony tissue that helps reptiles and birds break the egg membrane so they can breathe. Most dinosaurs most probably had this. So it's not far-fetched to think that the Mutadon had it. However, the Pteranodon DNA caused it to be retained and form a small beak. If its teeth corrode, this may be the saving grace for it, allowing it to eat. With all of its deformities tallied up and explained, the Mutadon gets a survival rating of D-. It could live for a couple of days before dying. The fast metabolism, corroded teeth, and poor thermal regulation would cause its death. The lifestyles of a pteranodon and Utahraptor are completely different. Since the Mutadon would have both, it would deal with the negative consequences of being a flyer while not being able to fly. Comparing a Distortus Rex to a Tyrannosaurus Rex is like comparing a German Shepherd to a pug, or practically the same thing. There's so many differences that it should be a whole different thing. While it has some of the same design problems like the Mutadon, which are exposed teeth, pronated wrists, and the pronated hands, may be a result of a potential DNA contributor. You can see the Distortus Rex has 6 limbs, meaning it's a hexapod, which is unlike animals on Earth, as they are all tetrapods, which means they have 4 legs. This is most likely a cause of polymelia, meaning an animal has more limbs, but this isn't just for the arms. It has a thumb. While Tyrannosaurus Rex has 3 fingers, the third is reduced to the point it's just a useless bone. In the Distortus Rex, it's opposable. Also, this knuckle-walking arm is far more different than a regular T-Rex arm. If a T-Rex had polymelia, you would see a repetition in the arms. Although it has 4 arms, they're all the same. But for the Distortus Rex, it's not. Which finally brings up the DNA contributor. DNA contributor would be some type of ape. Apes are known for their knuckle-walking and opposable thumbs. This DNA could possibly cause the knuckle-walking polymelia arms to grow as the conflicting locomotive types clash in the artificial incubator. This also may provide an explanation to why the wrists are pronated of the regular T-Rex, as the ape DNA affected it, allowing it to pronate. And this also may explain why the Distortus Rex grabs its prey, as the ape genes in its brain tells it to. Since this isn't a really severe case of polymelia and seems to somewhat be beneficial, it gets a pass of the survival grade. Begs the question if the knuckles can bear the weight. The largest known knuckle-walking animal in existence was Chalicotherium, which weighed 1,000 kilograms and was about 10 feet in height. Meanwhile, realistic estimates by Goji Center places the Distortus' weight at 22 tons, and it has a height of 26 feet, which makes it far too large to knuckle walk, but it only gets worse. The Distortus Rex has a case of hydrocephalus, which is a buildup of fluids in the skull. Although some have argued for it to be a spermaceti organ, allowing it to echolocate, there is no proof for this. There is instead evidence pointing against the existence of it. First off, the Distortus Rex screams. Echolocating animals usually make small chirps that allow it sound to bounce off the surroundings and get received back to the animal. If it were to scream, it gives its location to the prey items, which the Distortus Rex does. One of the symptoms of hydrocephalus matches up with the Distortus Rex, which is blurred vision, which may explain why the Distortus Rex is more attracted to light than sound. Other symptoms of hydrocephalus does somewhat align with the Distortus Rex, like abnormally walking, enlarged head, and irritability. This cause of hydrocephalus does not seem severe, which may mean the Distortus Rex as a baby may have had troubles growing, memory loss, stiff muscles, and a balance disorder. All this tallied up, the survival grade of the Distortus Rex is a D+. Just like the Mutadon, it could live with the help of humans, but dies without them, as it can't actively hunt. So sorry to all the fans of the mutants, including myself. These animals can't realistically survive in our world. Hope you guys enjoyed this dive into science and the Jurassic World franchise as much as I did. I quite enjoyed looking at the flaws of the mutants, while putting them to death wasn't my plan, unfortunately had to. As you guys can clearly see, I've upgraded my avatar. Instead of just blankly staring into the screen, now he moves and actually feels more alive. Also, we hit 100 subscribers. Well, now 103. I opened a pool and the fans have decided that to celebrate, I will be making a Q&A. Everyone gets 3 questions to ask about me, about really anything. It can be about me, my channel, or my art. Although please keep it PG, as my channel is family friendly. So, I hope to see you in the next video. This is Connor, out.